I heard an interesting comment yesterday for my remarks about George Galloway. The person made the observation that he shouldn't be allowed to have the right to freedom of speech because he was what they called a hypocrite, because he himself had tried to ban a speaker in Britain from the Dutch Parliament, whose name I think was Geert Wilders or something. The person really didn't understand the concept of a universal principle. It's not the case that you give a universal principle just to the people that you like or the people that you think deserve it. A universal principle is something that you apply to everybody regardless of whether you agree or disagree. And by that I mean you have to give freedom of speech to your worst enemy if you want to keep it for yourself. If freedom of speech can be abridged for people you don't like, there's always going to be somebody in a better and a more powerful position than you are who can define who they like and you might not like. And if you don't maintain the principle of freedom of speech for everyone, regardless of the content, you have opened the door for the application of arbitrary judgment and personal bias by those in power against anyone they don't like. This process is what's going on in Canada. This is what the Canadian Human Rights Commission is all about. It's about limiting speech for people they think should not be heard by others. This idea of allowing free speech for those who are appropriate, or for those who are good, or those who are right, or those who are even truthful, is a subjective imposition of one person's judgment over another. And the purpose of free speech is to hear someone first, then to judge them, not to silence them before you hear them on the basis of what someone else has told you about them. So we can't limit the application of a universal principle to those people that we like. That's the important thing about the whole case involving Mr. Galloway or David Irving or Ernst Zundel or Malcolm Ross or James Keekstra or any of the people that I've defended. The principle of freedom of speech is a universal principle applicable to all people regardless of their ideas. Until we hear them, we cannot judge them, and we cannot stop others from hearing them without imposing our judgment on those other people. So simply put, it's a universal principle that must be maintained for George Galloway and for everyone else if it's to be kept for any of us. That's why the comment that I heard about George Galloway and his attitude to others and him being a hypocrite would only mean that we would be hypocrites if we restricted free speech to all but George Galloway.